It was not in a church, not at a party, not on a rich street in Ikoyi. It was on dirty interlocking tiles, outside a supermarket, with people staring like they had forgotten how to breathe. Daniela fell face first, not gently, not slowly. She dropped like her body suddenly gave up. Her cheek hit the dusty tiles with a small, ugly sound, kappa, and for one heartbeat the whole place froze. A woman holding a basket of tomatoes gasped and covered her mouth. A man in a yellow reflective vest took one step forward, then stopped. Somebody whispered, "Jesus." Another person whispered, "Don't touch her, oh. What if it's juju?" Daniela tried to lift her head. She couldn't. Her fingers scratched the tiles like she was searching for help, or air, or something to hold. Her lips moved, but no sound came out, just a weak breath. Then nothing. And Samson, standing by the roadside with his laborer bag hanging from one shoulder, saw it all. He wasn't the kind of man. People noticed. That was the truth. He was 28, dark-skinned, tall but slightly bent from years of carrying cement bags. His t-shirt used to be blue, but now it was torn at the shoulder and stained with mud. His trousers were even worse, patched in 2 places, and his slippers had one strap that had been repaired with black tape. But his eyes were alive, sharp, watchful, like someone who had learnt to read danger quickly. Samson didn't think. He moved. He pushed past the frozen crowd like he was breaking through water. He knelt beside Daniela, and the smell hit him first, clean perfume mixed with sweat, and something metallic, like sickness. "Madam, hey madam," he said, shaking her gently. "Can you hear me?" Daniela's eyelids fluttered like she wanted to answer, but her body refused. Samson looked around. "Help me." Nobody moved. One woman shook her head fast. "I know one enter trouble. You know no person way she be." A man muttered, "Ambulance? Who go call ambulance now?" Samson's chest rose and fell. He felt anger, but it was the tired kind. The kind that comes when you've seen people choose fear over kindness too many times. "Okay," he said under his breath. "Okay, I will do it." He slid one hand under Daniela's shoulders and the other under her knees. She was heavier than she looked, maybe because she was wearing an expensive gown, or maybe because fear itself adds weight. Her head lolled to the side, and her neatly packed bun brushed his arm. Someone shouted, "Oga, leave Am. You fit be accused." Samson didn't stop. He lifted her fully into his arms, and as he carried her, Daniela's head fell against his chest, and he felt how hot her skin was. Too hot. Her breathing was shallow, like she was trying to sip air through a straw. Samson broke into a run. "Taxi! Taxi!" he shouted, waving with his elbow because both hands were busy holding a dying stranger. Cars passed. One driver slowed, looked at Daniela's limp body, then sped off like sickness was contagious. Samson's throat tightened. "Please," he whispered, "please, somebody stop." A yellow taxi finally screeched to a halt near the junction, an old Corope-looking taxi with a cracked windshield and a driver who looked tired. The driver leaned out. "Guy, waitin' happen." "She's collapsing," Samson said fast. "Take us to Lagos Teaching Hospital, please." The driver's eyes traveled over Samson's dirty clothes, then to Daniela's fine gown, then back to Samson. It was that look Nigerians give when they are trying to measure your value in 1 second. "Guy," the driver said slowly, "this one fit be set up, oh." Samson's voice cracked. "She will die, abeg. If she die for my hand, I no go forgive myself." The driver hesitated, then Daniela made a small sound, a weak, broken moan. That sound did something to the driver. It softened him. "Enter," he said sharply. Enter, put her for back seat." Samson climbed in carefully, laying Daniela across the seat. He held her head so it wouldn't knock the door. The taxi took off. Outside, Lagos moved like Lagos always does. Horns, shouting, hawkers chasing cars, a bus conductor yelling, Ojuelegba, Ojuelegba, as if that would solve hunger. But inside the taxi, everything was quiet except Daniela's breathing. Samson kept talking to her, even though he didn't know if she could hear. "Madam, no sleep. Abeg, open your eyes small." Daniela's lips moved again. This time, a word slipped out, thin as paper. "Water." Samson looked around helplessly. He had no water, only his laborer bag with his small food flask and a nylon with biscuit crumbs. "Hold on," he pleaded. "We don't reach soon." The taxi hit a pothole and bounced. Daniela's head rolled, and for a second her eyes opened properly, glassy, unfocused, but open. She stared at Samson's face like she was trying to remember something important. Then she whispered, "Daddy," and her eyes closed again. Samson swallowed hard. "Driver, please drive," he said, his voice low and tight. "Drive like your own child day inside." The driver didn't answer. He just pressed harder on the accelerator. They reached the hospital gate with noise and confusion. People were everywhere, patients on wheelchairs, nurses rushing, families praying loudly. Samson jumped out with Daniela in his arms and ran to the emergency entrance. "Help! She's dying!" he shouted. A nurse came forward, eyes alert. She looked at Daniela, then at Samson. "Put her here," she ordered, pulling a stretcher closer. Samson placed Daniela down gently, like she was made of glass. The nurse checked her pulse and snapped, "Get oxygen, call the doctor, now." Two more nurses appeared, moving fast. Daniela was rolled inside. Samson followed, his slippers slapping the floor. A security man grabbed his arm. "Hey, who be you? Know your wife?" Samson shook his head. "I no know her. I just see her fall outside supermarket." The security man's eyes narrowed. "You no know her, but you carry come here?" Samson's mouth opened, then closed. He didn't have a smart answer, only the truth. "Yes," he said, "because nobody else move." The security man looked like he wanted to argue, but the nurse shouted from inside, "Ogre security, leave him. If to say him no bring her, we for day declare body now." The security man released Samson slowly. Samson stood there in the corridor sweating, hands shaking. Now that the running was done, fear arrived properly. He stared at his hands. They were dusty, dirty, and Daniela's fine gown had picked some of that dirt. He suddenly remembered something he hadn't thought about earlier. Who was she? A young woman in an expensive gown, collapsing, outside a supermarket like she had been running from something, or like something inside her had failed. Samson paced, then stopped, then paced again. After some minutes that felt like hours, he remembered Daniela's phone. It had slipped from her handbag when he lifted her. It was still in his bag. He pulled it out now. The phone was expensive. Big screen, clean case, a small gold charm attached to it. The lock screen showed Daniela's face smiling in front of a fancy building. That smile looked like a different person from the girl fighting for her life in the emergency room. Samson hesitated, then he pressed emergency contact. The phone opened easily, maybe because it was already unlocked earlier when she tried to use it. He found a contact saved as Daddy Chief Desmond. Samson's finger hovered. What if he called and got blamed? What if they thought he harmed her? What if... He heard a sudden alarm sound from inside the emergency room. A nurse's voice. Rose urgent. "BP is dropping." Samson's fear turned into action again. He pressed call. It rang once, twice. Then a voice answered, deep, heavy, rich with stress. "Daniela, where are you? Daniela." Samson's throat tightened. Sir, please." Silence. Then the voice sharpened. "Who is this? Where is my daughter?" Samson spoke quickly, almost tripping over words. "My name is Samson. I'm a laborer. I was coming back from work and I saw your daughter collapse outside a supermarket on interlocking tiles. People no gree touch am. I carry her. I bring her Lagos teaching hospital. She day emergency now." The man's breathing came through the phone like wind. "Which hospital did you say?" he asked, voice shaking despite the power inside it. "Lagos teaching hospital, sir. Emergency unit." "Put the phone on speaker," Chief Desmond said suddenly, and Samson heard other voices in the background, men, sharp and alert. "Sir, we can trace the location. Get the car ready." Then Chief Desmond came back to the phone and his voice dropped, lower, dangerous with fear. "Listen to me," he said. "Do not leave her. Do you hear me?" "I'm coming." Samson swallowed. "Yes, sir." "And you," Chief Desmond added, "what did you do to her?" Samson froze. His heart sank. He knew that question would come. "I didn't do anything," Samson said, voice tight. "I swear, I only help." Chief Desmond didn't answer right away. Then he said, "I'm coming," and the call ended. Samson stood there holding the phone, feeling like the corridor had become colder. Inside the emergency room, nurses rushed. A doctor's voice was firm and fast, speaking medical words Samson didn't understand. Outside, Samson understood one thing clearly. A powerful man was coming, and powerful men rarely came with soft hearts first. Minutes later, the emergency room doors opened briefly. A doctor stepped out, pulling down his mask. He looked at Samson. "Are you the one who brought her in?" Samson nodded quickly. "Yes, sir." The doctor's face softened slightly. "You saved her by bringing her early. Another few minutes, and we would have been too late." Samson's knees almost gave way. He didn't know why that sentence hit him like that. Maybe because he had been holding his breath since the supermarket. Maybe because he needed someone, anyone, to tell him he did the right thing. "Thank you," Samson whispered, not sure who he was thanking, God, the doctor, the taxi driver, or the small voice inside him that refused to walk away. Then the doctor's expression changed again. He looked past Samson, down the corridor. Samson followed his gaze. That was when he heard the sound first. Fast footsteps, heavy shoes, and then a wave of men in black entered the corridor like a storm. Security, not hospital security, the kind of security that came with money. At the center of them was a tall, older man in a well-fitted agbada, his cap slightly crooked because he had rushed. His eyes were red, his jaw was tight like he was biting back panic. Chief Desmond. And the moment Chief Desmond saw Samson standing there with Daniela's phone in his hand, his face hardened. One of the guards stepped forward immediately and grabbed Samson's shirt collar. "Now you," the guard barked. "Where you carry her from?" Samson's heart jumped into his throat. "I brought her here," Samson said quickly. "I called—" Another guard twisted Samson's arm behind him. Pain shot through Samson's shoulder. Chief Desmond stared at Samson like he was looking at a suspect, not a helper. "Where is my daughter?" he asked, voice low. "In emergency," Samson said, wincing. "Sir, please tell them to leave me. I helped her, I swear." Chief Desmond didn't move. He just stared, eyes shining with fear and fury. Then from inside the emergency room, a long, sharp beep rang out. A nurse shouted, "We're losing her." The corridor went dead silent for half a second. Chief Desmond's face drained, and Samson, held painfully by two guards, realized something terrible at the same time. If Daniela died right now, nobody would ever believe he was innocent. And before anyone could speak again, the emergency room doors burst open. And a doctor shouted one word that made Chief Desmond stumble forward like his legs forgot how to stand. "Code." The word code echoed down the corridor like a slap. Chief Desmond froze. For a man who controlled boardrooms, security teams, and entire companies, this was the one place his power meant nothing. White walls, fluorescent lights, a door he could not force open. "Save her," he whispered, the words tearing out of him. "Please, save my daughter." Inside the emergency room, nurses moved fast. A doctor climbed onto a stool and began chest compressions. Another nurse shouted numbers. Someone else squeezed an oxygen bag. Daniela did not move. Outside, Samson was still being held. The guard tightened his grip when Samson tried to step forward. "Stay where you are." Samson stopped struggling. His chest felt tight. His mouth was dry. "I told you," he said softly, almost to himself. "I tried." Chief Desmond turned slowly. This time he really looked at Samson. Not at his dirty clothes, not at the torn slippers, but at his face. It wasn't the face of a criminal. It was the face of a man who had run until his lungs burned, and still felt it wasn't enough. The doctor burst out again, sweat on his forehead. "She has a pulse. It's weak, but she's back." Chief Desmond sagged into a chair like someone had removed his bones. His head dropped into his hands. A sound escaped him, not a word, just a broken breath. Samson felt his knees shake too. The doctor pointed at Samson. "You, come." The guards hesitated. Chief Desmond raised one hand slowly. "Leave him." The grip on Samson loosened. He stepped forward, heart pounding. The doctor spoke plainly. "She collapsed from severe dehydration and internal stress. If she had arrived even 5 minutes later," he paused, "we would be talking about a body." Chief Desmond's head snapped up. And him? He saved her, the doctor said firmly. He brought her in on time. Silence fell again. Chief Desmond stood up. He walked toward Samson, stopping close enough to smell dust and sweat. For a long moment he said nothing. Then he bowed his head slightly. "Thank you," he said. Samson didn't expect that. His eyes burned. "I just did what anyone should do," he replied. Chief Desmond shook his head slowly. "No, many people passed her. You stopped." Daniela was moved to intensive care. Hours passed. When Samson was finally allowed to see her, she looked small on the hospital bed. Tubes, machines, beeping sounds. Her eyes opened slowly. She saw Samson first. Her lips curved into a weak smile. "You," she whispered. "You carried me." Samson nodded, unable to speak. Daniela reached out with trembling fingers and held his dirty hand. "Thank you," she said. "Don't let go." Chief Desmond turned away sharply, wiping his eyes. Outside the room, one of his aides leaned close and whispered something urgent into his ear. Chief Desmond's face darkened. "What?" he asked quietly. "Sir," the aide said, "someone has been asking questions about the man who saved your daughter." Chief Desmond looked through the glass at Samson, and somewhere far away, a different man, one filled with bitterness and old hatred, also heard Samson's name for the first time. Daniela recovered slowly, not the kind of recovery that happens in movies. No sudden strength, no quick smiles, just small signs. One day she could sit up, another day she could drink, water without shaking. Another day she laughed quietly at something Samson said, and then felt tired again. Samson visited whenever Chief Desmond allowed him. At first, security followed him everywhere, 2 steps behind, always watching. But Daniela insisted. "He's not a stranger," she said weakly. "He's the reason I'm here." So the guards stayed at the door. Samson sat beside her bed most evenings after work, his laborer bag at his feet. He talked about small things, how traffic was mad that day, how a bus conductor insulted him for refusing extra change, how Lagos never slept. Daniela listened like these stories mattered. "What do you do for work?" she asked one evening. "I carry blocks, cement, anything they give me," Samson replied. She frowned. "But you speak like someone who went to school." Samson smiled sadly. "I did. University of Ilorin, economics, 2nd class upper." Daniela stared. "Then why?" "Life," he said softly. Life happened. That night, Daniela told her father. Chief Desmond did not sleep. The next morning, Samson was called into an office inside the hospital. Chief Desmond sat behind a table. His voice was calm, but his eyes were sharp. "You have a degree in economics," he said. "Yes, sir." "And you are carrying cement?" Samson nodded. "Jobs are hard to find, sir." Chief Desmond leaned back. "When my daughter is discharged, come to my office." Samson's heart skipped. Daniela was discharged a week later. She hugged Samson tightly in front of everyone, dirty clothes and all. "Promise me you won't disappear," she said. "I won't," Samson replied. True to his word, Chief Desmond kept his promise. 3 days later, Samson stood inside Desmond Group headquarters, wearing a borrowed shirt and shoes that pinched his toes. He was assigned to the accounting department. It felt unreal. Daniela worked in the company too. They ate lunch together. They laughed. They talked about dreams. Slowly, carefully, something warm grew between them. But not everyone was happy. Across town, in a small dark room filled with incense and bitterness, a man listened carefully. His name was Bamidel, Samson's uncle. The man his father once stood up to, the man who wanted to sell family land to a Chinese firm. The man people whispered about when Samson's parents died suddenly years ago. Bamidel clenched his fist when he heard the news. "So, he did not die after all," he muttered. Rain began to fall outside. Thunder rolled once, slowly, and Bamidel smiled. The rain started without warning. One moment, the sky over Victoria Island was bright and noisy with traffic. The next, clouds folded into each other like angry fists. Samson stood at the front of Desmond Group's glass building, waiting. Daniela had asked him to wait for her so they could go together. He didn't mind. He never minded waiting for her. He checked the time on his phone. 6:12 p.m. The rain thickened. Drops slapped the pavement hard, fast like stones. "Better come inside," a security guard called from the doorway. Samson shook his head with a small smile. "She's coming." Thunder growled in the distance. Inside the building, Daniela was signing a document when she heard it. The sound of glass rattling. She looked up. A strange feeling crept into her chest. "Sir," she told her assistant, "I'll be back." Outside, Samson stepped closer to the glass wall to avoid the rain. He stood right beneath the tall front window, watching the road blur. He didn't see the dark figure across the street. He didn't hear the whispered incantation carried by the wind. He didn't know that somewhere an uncle had asked the sky for blood. The thunder came again, this time louder. A sharp crack split the air. Boom! Light exploded. The tall glass window shattered in a violent burst. Pieces flew like knives. Daniela screamed. Samson felt heat before pain. A force slammed into his chest and threw him backward. He hit the ground hard. Everything went white. Rain poured into the building now, mixing with blood and glass. People shouted. Someone yelled his name. "Samson!" Daniela ran out barefoot, ignoring the broken glass cutting her feet. She dropped beside him. "Samson, open your eyes, please." His body twitched once, then went still. Smoke curled faintly from the shattered frame. The security guards stood frozen. "This is not ordinary," one of them whispered. An ambulance arrived fast. At the hospital, doctors worked, but nothing changed. Samson didn't wake. He didn't respond. He didn't breathe on his own. Machines did it for him. Daniela sat beside his bed all night, holding his hand. "I'm here," she kept saying, her voice breaking. "You saved me. Don't leave me." Chief Desmond stood behind her, silent, afraid in a way money could not fix. The next morning, an elderly man entered the ward quietly. He wasn't dressed like a doctor. His eyes were old, and deep. He looked at Samson once and sighed. "This one," he said gently, "is not sickness." Chief Desmond turned sharply. "What do you mean?" The old man's voice dropped. "Someone sent death. It missed." Daniela's breath caught. "Who?" she whispered. The old man looked at Samson's still face. "Blood knows blood," he said. "His uncle." Daniela felt cold spread through her chest. Outside, thunder rolled again. But this time, it sounded closer to another name. Samson did not die. That alone was the first shock. The elderly man returned that evening, carrying nothing but a small brown bag and a calm that did not belong in a hospital ward. Chief Desmond wanted to stop him. Doctors protested. Nurses argued. But Daniela knelt. "I beg you," she said, tears falling freely. "He saved my life. Please." The old man nodded once. "What I do is not noise," he said. "It is correction." They moved Samson to a quiet side room. No machines, no shouting, only silence, and rain tapping softly against the window. The old man crushed leaves, murmuring words that sounded older than the walls. He rubbed Samson's chest, his temples, his feet. The air felt heavy, warm, alive. Then Samson gasped, a sharp breath. Daniela screamed. Machines rushed back in. Doctors ran. Nurses crowded. Samson's fingers twitched. His eyes opened slowly, confused, tired, but alive. Daniela collapsed onto his chest, crying and laughing at the same time. 2 hours later, in another part of Lagos, thunder answered a different call. Bamidel was shouting when it happened. The sky darkened unnaturally fast. Wind tore through his compound. Before he could run, lightning split the ground and struck him down. He did not die immediately. He screamed, and then he confessed. How he hated Samson's father, how he went to a native doctor years ago, how he caused accidents, how he sent death again, this time through thunder. Neighbors gathered. Police arrived. Bamidel died before sunrise. Samson did not attend the burial. He did not need to. 1 month later, Lagos stood still for a wedding. Daniela walked down the aisle glowing, her hand in her father's. Chief Desmond cried openly as he placed her hand into Samson's. "This man," he said, voice shaking, "did not save my daughter because of money. He saved her because he is good." Samson's voice broke as he replied, "I will protect her. Always. They kissed, the crowd erupted, and somewhere deep inside something healed. Daniela learned that love is not found in comfort, but in truth. She trusted the man who held her when she was dying. Bamidel shows the psychology of bitterness, how unresolved anger grows into destruction. What he sent out returned to him. If you like this story, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories.